So I'd like to welcome everyone to this opportunity to explore the collective, people are coming in still, the collective collaborative potential of all of us who are here in this group today, representing different organizations and different technologies and platforms as a way to accelerate regenerative solutions in a time where it seems that there's also a simultaneous escalation and collapse of the ecosystem and human values. So we are the ones. Now is the time. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm going to give a short little presentation in a moment. But I think what's the most important is for me to know when to facilitate and when to keep my mouth closed. I just wanted to take a moment to have everyone introduce themselves. I will just start really quickly, and then I will pass the baton on to a longtime collaborator, Professor Alan Tratner. But very briefly, I'm Michael DiMartino. Have the Earthstock Foundation and Earthstock Enterprises dedicated to regenerative solutions for people, planet, and the future. This is a pivot that I did over the last few years during the kind of global reset. Before that, I ran a regenerative hub in Nevada County with 16 offices, podcasting. So I'm very much into media, streaming, video, filmmaking. And behind that, I have 40 years of event production, including legacy events like the World Unity Festival in '94 for 20,000 people with indigenous elders and wisdom keepers from around the world. 1999, we did the millennial event, the Pyramids of Egypt. 2005, the Imagine Peace Festival in partnership with the United Nations and the International Day of Peace, and of course, Yoko Ono, licensing use of the song Imagine, and then 2012, a large gathering at the Pyramids of Mexico in Chichen Itza for the ending of the Mayan calendar. So as an event producer, I've always tried to focus on maximum message and divine timing. I would rather do one successful event than have to do 100 micro events. And over the years, I've been involved in watershed restoration, dozens of brands and projects, which I've been actually collaborating more and more with our next presenter. All I would ask, I know all of you have deep, profound wells of knowledge and insight, but I think for right now, if we can do just a quick, maybe 2-minute synopsis, and then I'd like to kind of drill into one of the potential facets of this connection today, and then we'll have a little bit of time at the end to kind of drill down deeper. But with that, I'd like to welcome from Maui, Hawaii, Professor Alan Tratner from Green to Gold. So welcome, Alan.
Aloha, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Thank you for gathering today with Michael and myself, and I appreciate the wealth that he's brought together of expertise and wisdom. And it's just simple. I was luckily involved as an activist to be involved in the founding of the original Earth Day in 1970. And on that occasion, I created the Green to Gold Incubator and the Environmental Education Group. Our incubator was the pioneering first impact global incubator about inventing the future and making a difference with great ideas. And we are unique as an incubator in that we have 100,000 members that are ventures and researchers and scientists and innovators doing everything you can imagine in green tech and sustainability, regenerative. There is no limit. And we're a novelty and an anomaly in the incubation world that we're a 501c3 nonprofit from the get-go. And we basically also have helped even Michael create nonprofits that are socially and environmentally responsible around the world, more than 300 of them. In almost every field you can imagine, there's wonderful synergy and interaction and symbiosis that takes place with the nonprofits and the for-profits. And then in 1972, I was fortunate enough to ask to do a big project for the first International United Nations Conference on the Human Environment that's brought all those nations together for the first time about the problems of the planet and our civilization and what's happening with Spaceship Earth. And that was in Stockholm, Sweden. And then the only other kind of mark that I can make, other than doing 5,000 workshops and traveling all over the planet, about sustainability and green economic growth, or the green economy, the inclusive green economy, is that the whole decade of the 1990s, fast forward from the 70s, we did Green Business Conference, the national marketplace for the environment in the United States. We did 5 major shows, 50,000 people showing up in cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Denver, New York, Washington, Boston. Every year we did those, and I ran the Green Business Conference and worked with fledgling enterprises that were green, that have grown, some of them to multi-billion-dollar enterprises making a difference. But every day we have excitement going on, including the launch on Earth Day. Michael and I did 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, for Earth Day, the 22nd of March. I should know, I was involved in that founding of that date. And we created a Regenerative Media TV, this co-creation collaborative effort to bring a global resource, a new kind of media, in addition to print media and website, etc. But it brought the opportunity for us to really showcase our members, our nonprofit members, and our for-profit enterprises in the major projects. And as Michael mentioned, to conclude, I'm on Maui. Not only did we get caught up in the horrible, horrific mess of the incineration by climate-driven fires on Lahaina, but we have a global center, the reason why we were here in the first place, that is for the transition to sustainability in the inclusive green economy. What I've been about since the beginning of Earth Day is we see an opportunity to make local economies green and grow to be national, international. And I think it'll be a major solution for everything that we're facing, along with regenerative everything. So thank you all. We say mahalo in Hawaii. So mahalo to you all. And I'm glad to meet you and be with you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Tratner. And I want to go on now. I know he's driving, so I want to make sure as he goes in and out of reception, I want to introduce Haidai, who's in Bali right now. I met him years ago, and all I can say he's doing it. Well, I'll let him explain, but really, we had a deep discourse the other day on one of his many curriculums about regenerative leadership. And I would like to dig in a little bit later about what you and I shared, Haidai, today before this meeting, because this is all about getting traction and moving things forward, bringing in the funding and deploying solutions. So again, from Bali, I'd like to welcome Haidai.
Hello, everybody. I'm Haidai. I'm a professor here at the University of Saraswati in Bali. It's one of the oldest, most sacred university. I am also a healer priest for the kingdom, working directly with the kingdom of Puri Klungkung, which is the highest kingdom here in Bali, looking at regenerative dynamics using via cultural dynamism. And one of the things that I'm very interested in supporting, especially with Michael's and for the Earth Day Summit, is just to really focus on what is the regenerative dynamics. When we talk about regeneration, just like the word sustainability, there's so many different layers of what is sustainable and what is regenerative, and when we look at those at the regeneration level, you have to look at a culture like Bali, who's been here over 1,000 years ago, unchanged. They're still doing the same thing that they have done 1,000 years ago in their cultural process and in their social dynamics and in their spirituality. And it's not to say that they're like in the boony or in the corner of the world where no one visits. 100 million tourists visit Bali annually. So to see how a culture that is unchanged and it's sustainable and it's regenerative, and I mean when regenerative, it focuses on its true essence and it's unchangeable even in the globalization and modernization. So I want to emphasize on that model, and that model talks about global engagement, and so the global engagement through the global region renaissance that Michael talks about is very interesting, because that's how do we regenerate? How do we look at regenerating? And so through the model of global engagement and education is key. So how do we connect everybody through a common framework of education? And therefore, the program that we offer here through Mahasaraswati University and with the support of the oldest kingdom here in Bali is that regenerative leadership. How do we connect people, transcend culture, transcend religion, transcend even spirituality, moving back into just the basic essence of being human and the basic essence of multiple intelligence, energy centers, and connection. And then from there, prioritize the economic first, making sure that we support the focus of economic, and not only just economic for ourselves, but how do we develop a regeneration project so that everyone who comes on board can follow our sustainability regeneration in economic first, and then of course social outreach and community, and third, environmental stewardship. And then going in there, then what would be the first importance? Well, media and content strategy. How do we share digital content? Because to me, the exchange of words and stuff is wonderful, but the ability to be able, let's say, document this presentation that Michael is recording, and then downsizing into, what I call cycling, bite-size information, so that way people can share, people can duplicate, people can use as reference to what we do, and with all the different education and global engagement would prioritize. And of course, the long-term the long-term strategy is to look at how we can leverage these with performance, okay? And I mean, and I don't mean just performance in the area of dance and music and the arts, but performance in the sense is how does dance, music, and the art be effective in everyday life, in boardroom meeting, in running leadership, because that's what it's all about. Like when you come to Bali, you think, these are a bunch of spiritual people doing their song and their dance and their rituals. But no, those songs, dance, and rituals are performances to a society or to a culture that is regenerative and that's sustainable up to the modern time. So I look forward to hearing everybody, and thank you for giving me the time, Michael.
Absolutely. And I want to start to say, as we talk, we're going to see a pattern unfolding here. We prefaced the meeting saying that we literally have a core of a couple of people on each continent, well, 6 continents, and also a few islands like Maui and Puerto Rico that are operating at a certain level. So again, this is already an organic, based on nature's intelligence, and emerging ecosystem that is really creating itself, all in alignment with what you were saying, this regenerative ethos. And I do want to say, every time I meet with Haidai and him creating content and the curriculum work that he's doing is just, it's been an honor and really fascinating. I want to welcome right now to the call. I'm not going to call on him immediately, but I want to welcome Adam Stewart, who's in Mexico. I had mentioned him earlier, but I wanted to go over now to Kevin. I met Kevin Haggart through a mutual friend, Maureen Edwardson, who does Inner Resonance Technologies and is an amazing trainer. She's doing a whole international tour right now teaching about coherence. And I was introduced to him as someone who is doing amazing consulting work for the Dom and Her project, but also doing a lot of other things. Now, I also want to say, I know there's sensitivities as we're getting to know each other to kind of share what we're doing, and we don't have to divulge too much tonight, but the idea is to start to get a sense of some of the emerging personalities in this ecosystem, including the 4 or 5 who couldn't be here this evening from other places, Australia, South America, etc. So I'd welcome Steve Haggart.
Hi, good to meet you all. As a bit quick synopsis, then initially born in England of a Danish mother, English father, studied architecture, came to Australia 35 years ago, studied in architecture, saw how Uh, Different groups influence the outcomes of the built environment, particularly the money and engineering. So I became a developer of projects to get closer into the confluence of all of those elements together. And then got very interested in the materials and the energy and systems of the built environment. And so ultimately started to track roughly 50 different technologies in energy, water, food, waste conversion to, well, not considering waste as waste, but waste cradle to cradle, everything being part of a system that gets recycled all the time, through to transport and sovereignty and a number of other key areas of change, managing change. And so became very much more interested in the reason for a place to be created and what it facilitates rather than just creating places for the sake of places. So it became very much more about what is the whole systems approach to facilitating mankind do what it does and integrating with the natural environment in a more holistic way. So that's taken me on a big journey into many different areas of consideration. And these days, the focus is very much on the technologies to bring through, the places to support them, and the networks to distribute them. And so I met Mark Copeland, who you'll meet in a second, who's come up with, well, divined or brought through, I'd say, as we all have our own, in our own way, our own thing, a thing called Earth Ledger, which he'll describe. But for me, that was really the meeting of two worlds. One was creating places that could be regional coordination centers around the planet with planet-wide digital systems that could connect humanity. So we've got sort of four things going on. The first two are digital and physical networks. The next level down is all of the technologies that they support to bring through. And then the third level is that they filter technologies through to what we're calling local coherent communities that are many thousands of them around the world that benefit from the technologies that are being developed. So we're playing in many different layers and many different spaces. Mark can speak to the Earth Ledger piece of it and all the technologies that are coming through there. But yeah, we've generally been speaking about digital networks to support information coming through, physical networks to support things coming through and the regional coordination of them. But how do those technologies and those new hypotheses, philosophies integrate into society and do so in a way that is mutually beneficial to both humanity and the natural environment, the holding environment that supports all life, and honoring all other life and not just humanity and its imperatives. So that's kind of where we're at.
Great. Thank you so much. Good to see you. And I've really enjoyed our extremely resonant discourses together, like down to the exclamation points and the commas and the verbiage. They've been very revealing. I also want to just say briefly that can you just talk for 30 seconds about the consulting work you were doing around Damanhur, which I think is a big issue with a lot of these kind of utopian eco-village projects around the world. I mean, 400 alone in Costa Rica. Could you just speak for a quick moment about that?
Yeah, I mean, Damanhur is a 50-year-old community, so it's one of the longer lasting communities. And of course, they have a very detailed daily spiritual practice, which goes across the entire community and across the year. And the founder of Damanhur came arguably back from 2,600 years in the future, back to 1950 to incarnate as Falco, to create a splinter timeline for humanity. So that Damanhur, as with many conscious communities, are living a different timeline in the existing paradigm, and they're doing it in arguably the hardest place to do it in the world, which is in northern Italy. So they've got the Catholic Church to contend with and the mafia to contend with. So corruption and corruption and coercion and man-made hierarchies are at the forefront of the Italian culture, and they're trying to exist as a culture that embraces all wisdom traditions, past, present, future, across all terrains of the world. And they're trying to do it from, I mean, it's quite a curious dilemma when you're trying to marshal a community from a spiritual perspective in one direction and coexisting in another dimension, where you have to still define yourselves as a legal entity, and how you're going to do your banking and your finance and manage all of that sort of stuff, which they haven't done particularly well, because as a spiritual community, they have got a much greater mission and focus that they're on. But meantime, their economy goes by the wayside. So it's trying to figure out ways to reinvent or realign with a future paradigm of economics rather than an old paradigm of economics. Anyway,
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to highlight that because I think it's really relative to one of the initiatives possibly that can be collaborated in, that will be a multi-use, multifaceted. But anyway, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. So from there, I want to just welcome, we're going to go over to Mark here in a moment, but I want to again welcome Adam Stewart just joining the call. I want to welcome Robert from Uganda, and also I believe that Alenka just joined us from Slovenia. So with that, Mark, if you could introduce yourself and just give us a general understanding of the solution and technologies and what you're bringing potentially to this global regeneration collaboration project.
Sure. Thanks, man. Hey, guys. My name is Mark Copeland. I think I'll probably go with the short version. It's easier. If I just rewind 10 years, that's probably where this particular journey began. And it's sort of like you look at the current status quo at the most macro level that you can in the world. And, you know, all the systems and processes that we've been using have led to the situation that we're in, more or less. All right. So it's like, if you step back and you zoom out and you say, okay, if you could do it differently, what would it look like, right? If you could do this system from like without all of the red tape and all the controls and everything in, what would it look like? And, you know, I think when it was an interesting idea, the SDGs are, you know, the agenda behind them is questionable, but the actual idea about unifying the world across a common set of goals and a common vision was a very, very good move in the sense of unifying a perspective on potentially the things that we need to resolve. So I decided to go on a journey. So Smart Minds Enterprise, we work across 4 main themes. So personal development, self-mastery is one, culture transformation, frontier technology, and sustainability. And what we've been doing is building a technology platform called Earth Ledger, which is essentially a decentralized, consensus-driven network to resolve the SDGs. So it automates the process and allows a self-organizing system to come online where you can drive change by creating challenges within the network that are geolocated around the world that people can engage with. They can vote on, they can invest in, they can become a team member, they can promote it, they can do whatever they want to do within the network, because there's so many projects. I mean, there's literally millions of projects around the world, all with amazing merit, yet they suffer the same challenges in the sense that it's very difficult to get funding to some of these initiatives. So the network, what we're going to do is we're going to use a regenerative process in the sense that all of the profits that the network generates from the marketplace, from the learning management system, like the education platform, and all of the other revenue streams that come into the network, we're going to give 100% back to the network. So when you start to create a company bigger than Amazon, and you're generating that kind of profits every year, and you put all of that money back to the stakeholders within the network, that's some tectonic change, right? Real change, measurable change that you can see. So all of the initiatives are essentially going to come into this network, everything, even some of the other networks, there is now symmetry between how the networks can even play together. So it's been a 10-year journey to figure it out. And we're only just really now putting in a lot of the financial structuring and the correct systems to get this thing to scale. And it's going to be rolled out in 5 phases. So the first one is the education platform, and we've been developing a lot of new type of transformational, transmissional content. Now we're going to go out with the first piece called the Realized Mind, which is like a mindset shift for humanity, right? So to get the individual to see things from a new level. And then we're going to scale that into a purpose-driven network, like a new type of social network that's all based around the conversation around new paradigm initiatives, the SDGs, creating resolution in the world. And then that will roll out through the funding, the content management system, and the marketplace, right? They're the main areas in the platform in the next, whatever, 6 to 12 months. So I'm excited to see the overlay and the symmetry between what everyone's doing. I can put a link to the website and you guys can sign up for it. Like there's a 30-minute video that will pretty much spill the beans on the picture of it all, of where we came from and how we can go into a new space. And, you know, over the journey of the last 10 years, I think the most amazing thing about it is that the process and the platform has simplified it to such a level where the people that are coming into the fray now, into the actual ecosystem, they're really understanding it in a deep way that it is possible. And it's not a pipe dream. At the beginning, everyone thought it was just crazy. You know, 10 years ago, it was a no-fly zone. And I think humanity's level of energy and awareness and consciousness has shifted enough where there's a gap and there's enough disruption within the current system, the current timeline, to be able to introduce something new. So I think the timing is really perfect. I think the people that are coming to the table. So I'm working with a group out of Switzerland, and like an impact fund, and we're building this really unique financial structure. Oh, we've got an extra person on there. Got it.
Yep.
To facilitate the change. So like a lot of the traditional mechanisms, like in the financial world, they look at it like it's like sort of a one or the other type scenario. So we're trying to build more inclusive financial models to allow money to move into the impact economy, because there's so much stagnating, and there's a lot of like unnecessary fear around some of the assets, because they're just not very well understood. Like new paradigm or frontier technologies, there's a certain risk to it. Like, you know, you're going to make me levitate, or you're going to be able to fly, or you're going to be, you know, something crazy. Then suddenly everyone's got their hands off. So we're in a really good place with bringing a lot of different groups together to be able to facilitate the change. And I'm excited to share what we've got, because I think it's going to benefit everyone on this call. Sure.
Great, fantastic. Thank you, Mark. So we're going to continue on here. I do want to say I put into the chat, because I know most of us are deeply coherent and educated in the idea of regenerative and how that weaves together with sustainability. But I put, based on Barbara Marx Hubbard's original Wheel of Co-Creation, I put it into the chat as a courtesy, because part of what's evolving through this regeneration global movement, and we're talking about the potential of bundling our superpowers without any additional expense or administrative time requirements by the people on this call, is that there's many aspects coming together around health, around environment and ecology, around technologies, around economics and governance, around media. So I wanted to say this because sometimes when we do these calls, and I'm not saying for this group particularly, people will be like, you know, I do media. What does that have to do with agriculture? So again, you know, the people on this call are extremely aware and coherent, and really this is a space where we can kind of germinate the potentials of alliances and collaborations and these types of things. So I want to go on now. I want to welcome, I know he was here, he missed the beginning, and that's fine. Obviously, I'm always very liberal about, you know, as we're getting to know each other, we're all busy, we're all doing our silos and hoops and our projects. But right now, especially with the Earth Stock Eco Spiritual Summit coming up in August and the potential to reach a lot of people, there's kind of this element of time and polishing. And at the very end of this conversation, I just want to share like literally a couple page PowerPoint presentation of what we're thinking about. But I do want to welcome from one of my favorite places in the world. It's gotten a little overdeveloped, but nonetheless, Quintana Roo from Cancun all the way down to Belize is an amazing area that's very relevant as far as this global dialogue. I want to welcome from Adam Stewart from Karma Hub. Share us a little bit about your project and what you're doing.
Great, thanks, Mike. Can everybody hear me? I took out the headset.
Yes.
I don't know if it's working, but
Yeah.
thanks for your patience, putting my little 10-month-old son to bed. Crazy day, and thanks for teeing it up, Michael. Tough acts to follow. Mark, Steve, what you had to say, it really resonates. With what we're doing at Karma Hub here. And I'm so used to presenting to investors and advocates and all this kind of stuff. This is a refreshing group of people. It's nice being around like-minded people that have a mindset of the fact that there are solutions right in front of us, and we don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel to change the world, and leveraging relationships like this are really important. So to get into it, so what is Karma Hub? Okay, so Karma Hub, we're a nonprofit / low profit, meaning we're set up as both for getting reasons. Platform that basically in a nutshell, we're incentivizing volunteering in a new way. Okay. So in our platform, you earn what are called karma tokens. So every hour that you volunteer for a vetted 501c3 nonprofit organization, with exceptions, I'll get into that, you earn a karma token. Okay. This is like, it's good as cash, congruent to the minimum wage in the location in which the volunteering took place. Okay, so if you volunteer in a state where the minimum wage is $10 an hour and you volunteer 10 hours, you get a $100 discount at the participating brand of your choice. Okay, that'll be United Airlines, Hilton Hotels, Disney World, Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, you name it. Okay, so our vision quite literally is cash, credit, or karma. Like, how can we make the world a better place? And to kind of go into the fact that we're leveraging existing systems, I'm a firm believer that the world is not a broken place. And just a little bit more about me and my experience. So I spent the better part of 2 decades in the live events and media industry, a good portion of that working for MTV and Viacom out of New York. Okay, so for the first half of my 7 or 15-year tenure there, I was a production manager and director for the news division. I ran news shoots. I ran around the world, did incredible experiences, produced red carpets for the VMAs and the movie awards, high level of television knowledge and experience. The second half of my career, I was the director of production for Viacom special events. I produced all sorts of tent poles from a high, executive level in terms of producing logistics, major music festivals, things of that nature. And then I kind of went off my own before the pandemic. Then things changed. Then we had time to think about things and how to change the world. And shortly after my wife and I met, we kind of had this aha moment. We had met in Italy. I had gone back to New Jersey, where I'm from. She's from Russia, my wife, whole other story. And she found herself feeling that she had to contribute somehow. We had this great love, this great connection. She felt so positive. She had to give back to the world. She knocked on the door of a restaurant in Florence, Italy, explained to them how she felt like she needed to clean something. She could help clean their kitchen, what have you. They said, well, crazy lady, we have insurance policies. We can't do that, but here's a mop and a bucket. Sweep this back little alleyway. And she did for 2 hours. And she calls me and she goes, Adam, I'm standing in the cleanest street of all of Europe. And I go, what do you mean? And she explains the story. And she says how just amazed that the owner of the shop and the workers there, they gave her a dress. The manager had a dress. They gave her a free meal. And kind of this light bulb moment went off in my head from having traveled the world with backpackers and nomads before. Volunteers are the heartbeat of the world, as are nonprofits. This is something that, is a really great system in the States, at least. I believe the nonprofits in the world are the solution to the world's problems. And if we could only treat the nonprofit economy like we treat the for-profit economy, put some incentive behind it, right? We have reasons to get involved in corporations. We have a stock market. We have, all these reasons to, oh, it's a well-paying job. I get bonuses, I get commissions. None of that exists in the nonprofit economy. What if we did that? Okay. We have 1.8 million nonprofit organizations in America alone. Okay. There are almost 7 billion in combined hours of volunteering every year. What if we funded those with the leftovers that companies already have? All right. You look at companies, you look at empty airline seats, empty hotel rooms, empty seats at stadiums and show. Major League Baseball alone is someone who we're approaching to work with on this. Okay. They have 100 million seats across all games, all stadiums all year long. 30 million go unused. What if we put 1 million volunteers in those seats? What would the world look like? Imagine enriching these neighborhoods, okay? So that's the kind of short version of what we're looking to do. Right now, we're sort of in a purgatory of development in multiple angles. We have a blockchain partner with our tokenization. We have a front end partially built. We are in the process of building our CNM. So we are very much a startup. We're very bootstrapped. I work a sales job on the side, online sales. I had a full day, 8 calls. I also go back into the States from time to time, work music festivals, all sorts of capacities. So, but we're having a great time doing this. We have some good traction, and we're hoping that this really catapults us into a new age of looking at things.
Great. And I will say part of my epiphany has been the idea of bundling under an umbrella and actually being able to access major funding. And that can be either generated within, but I have to say, had an amazing talk with Kelly from Yunga about the whole UNESCO connection. Professor Tratner is connected with the Biden administration Inflation Reduction Act, on and on and on. So we're talking about everything from self-generating the resources we need and not counting on necessarily government agencies or different organizations, NGOs, or not to do that, but also, and we'll talk about this very briefly at the end, about partnering and building bridges between indigenous communities, between non-governmental organizations, and also partnering with agencies that have a lot of money sitting around and actually need to do something with it and spend it. So again, a big part of prefacing this call is this concept of bundling, which I'll talk more about. So again, thank you so much, Adam. Really appreciate you being on the call. And I want to go over now to, I'm looking here, to a couple of people. Now, I put in the chat, there's a few people that couldn't be here tonight. Bob Jaco from Co-Creation Global, who's starting a global production house for media around curriculums. He's working with a lot of AI and different platforms, and he has some international teams. So he wants to be like a large production house. Again, Kelly, I'd mentioned about Yunga, who is at COP28 and has thousands of youth around the world already deployed doing sustainability programs and education. She couldn't be on the call tonight, but she's anxious and inspired to get on a call again in the future. And then also other people like the Siqueiros Foundation that we're currently working with, who is a legacy level art foundation out of Mexico and Los Angeles. Her uncle has worked with people of the likes of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera, and she has access to legacy level art as fundraising tools for regenerative and sustainability projects. So for me, it's like, I don't know which hole in the dike is going to open first and bring forward the abundance. And I say that as someone who's talked with hundreds of angel investors and crypto and blockchain. I've heard so many stories, and it always comes down to like, show me the money. So I think we're at this confluence right now of a lot of that paradigm shifting, which is why it's parallel and part and parcel of this whole concept of Regeneration Global. So speaking of art, I want to introduce just two more people here on our call tonight. I want to introduce from Slovenia, Alenka. I met her in Palenque during the Eagle and Condor gathering. She just won an award for her support of that indigenous and traditional knowledge event, partnered with people like Chief Phil Lane and others that we're working with in tandem to Regeneration Global, so that we actually have a what we call our Wisdom Keepers Council. For us to do this, we have to bring in the voices of wisdom keepers and indigenous elders and spokespeople, or else it turns into like another kind of, we're not including the indigenous people. I also want to mention very quickly, Levin Wang, who is between Taiwan and Maui. He works with Professor Tratner on the sustainability, transition to sustainability project. And actually, Alan, make a note, because I want you to mention the big Pacific Rim event that you're helping to put together in Maui. But with that, I want to welcome, just for a minute, to share a little bit about her work, whether it's at COP28 or the people she works with. I want to welcome from Slovenia, Alenka. So welcome.
Hi, everybody. Good morning for me. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, so I apologize. That was over 7 hours. I didn't hear everybody. But so far, I heard what I heard. I could very much connect it. So I will maybe start where I'm coming from, why I'm even interested to collaborate, and what I'm doing currently. So art form is a part of the work that I express what I think about the world. So my projects are always kind of a starting and a long term. I started with the horses because I believe the horses are the animals that are put you in the present. I mean, every animal is putting you in the present, but the horse is like being in now and coherent with the heart, and it's universal language. And Slovenia has lipitoners that are our tangible, I mean, like living culture. And I was fortunate to present Slovenia through the lipitoners. The story that was very successful in Washington 2011 when I was living in US, in New York. So since then, I had experience with governments, especially mine, how they function, and what is their agenda or whatever. And in 2017, I went to celebrate my birthday in UN because I felt a calling to understand what it is before I'm getting into. And 2017, the UN started SDGs as really promoting and make it digital. I was there for the environmental day and the ocean conference. I was in the media zone, the VIP media zone. So, and there was kind of very big revelation what it is. I felt that. That's why I just didn't believe that first picture. Anyway, so I was on the expos like Expo Milano, Expo Dubai, get to know living in the Kuwait, doing other. So my background is coming from seeing things from global and from the broader perspective. But when I work through the art, I go to the, to the matter of that it's also relating to everybody. It doesn't matter what it is, the subject. So with indigenous, I connected with America and other indigenous through the thinking of the nature. That's the way I live. I mean, the way I understood the world all the time, but this was not really understood here so much because everybody is just for money and destroying nature and so on. So all this kind of coming together, I feel like the whole of my life was coming together from different points and about the sustainability and about the I just don't like these words anymore because it's so abused, sustainability. If you go to my website, you're gonna see a certain statement. Maybe I should upgrade it now because about this, what is really going on now in the world. It's kind of obvious that this what SDGs are for you through the UN. I kind of understand this picture, so that I stick to the art, how to express that, because through art it's kind of allowed, maybe more safe to say. But so for concrete, I also have a big network in a way of to know people, to approach them, and to invite also to this event and this network. Like I've been around to ex-Yugoslavian countries with a group that is doing the sustainable communities. There is a huge network in Europe that is kind of against all this corporation and economic forum. It's kind of anti-pole for that. So I kind of coming from, it looks like I'm an artist, but I am an artist, but currently I have a status. But I'm coming from the picture of seeing things through multi levels, and I love to work like that. And I am also working intuitive, and my approach to art is also maybe not so how to say not convenient. No, I don't know. It's usually I have my own way, and I did take a risk to present my stuff in my thinking in Slovenia. I work with Festival Ljubljana. It's the biggest festival in Slovenia and one of the biggest one in the world regarding the quality also. I had several exhibitions, big one outdoors. I love doing exhibitions outdoors because I love the interaction with the nature. So the pictures are interacting with the water, sun, wind, and everything. Okay, I'm going too deep now.
No, I want to preface that too. I want to preface her amazing work in the awards, and she's also, I mean, she was basically at COP28 and did a sacred fire with the Green Check. So, not only is she amazing artist, but she's very connected. And actually, we're talking about her working with Build Back Green initiative, which I'll briefly, again, we're almost to the end of this call, I'll briefly explain. But I wanted to kind of show a different spectrum of, as we all know, our ecosystems, our resources, our networks. Some people are holding technologies, some have platforms, and how quickly we can weave together and kind of, with Earthstock, as you can see, Earthstock, our logo, we use the tree of life because it seems like so many people are watering their own branch, wondering why it's not the tree is not bearing the potential of harvest and fruit and abundance that it can. So for us, I've actually given up a lot of projects to just focus on bridge building and how can we come together and water a common root, a common vision and mission. And we're doing that through the Earthstock Summit in August. And I put the website link in the chat because I want to give all of you an opportunity to be showcased and spotlighted there. But more importantly, that seems to be a next big event and step as far as midwifing, the potentiality of the people on this call, along with several others, to do some work under an umbrella of Regeneration Global, and I'll talk about that really briefly. So, since we have a diversity of people here today, I wanted to take a moment to share another amazing solutionary. I recently had the opportunity to meet Robert, who's doing incredible work in Uganda for his community, for his village, around youth, around education, around culture, around water. And I will say right now, Build Back Green has made a commitment to help support him with his work. So I'm really happy to have someone who's actually have his hands in the dirt and is doing a lot of incredible work around regeneration and sustainability, preserving the ecosystem, reforestation, preserving wildlife, and most importantly too is working with the human element. So welcome from Uganda, Robert.
Yes, good morning. I hope you hear me.
Yes.
Okay, great. This is Message Robert from Uganda, a landlocked country from East Africa in Africa, a developing continent. It is still a developing continent on this earth. And for me, I came to know Michael through Bridging Continents, where we connect with the aspects of life and the spiritual aspects of life with the network of Chief Fury and Ben Baura and other people from Bridging Continents. Then my brief background: for me, a health fabric practitioner, and I have been working in marginalized community in Uganda in a refugee settlement for a decade, where I witnessed how these marginalized people were suffering from the crisis, the climate crisis. And so there was a call to start regenerative and try to save the next generation from the crisis. And for me, I started from doing ritual works, ritual initiatives, doing agroforestry, planting fruit trees, alongside with a food forest, and in 2018, and it is now doing well, and also started ending plastic pollution, recycling them into reusable and picking the community, constructing water tanks using that plastic bottles poorly disposed in the communities, and also using them in irrigation, bottle irrigation, in doing those things. And also we are doing also kitchen gardens, of which those kitchen gardens is to try to support these local communities from marginalized communities to have adequate food that is rich in nutrients that can support their children and prevent them from malnutrition. Because for us, some communities you find their children, they are suffering from malnutrition and communicable diseases. So it is a bit alarming, and also due to harsh climate condition and harsh climate condition in the area. So when we started this kitchen gardens using the model of women care group as a networking of doing the work in togetherness, we found that these children, they are being helped to have the food that is nutritious and also that can help them to grow well. Then we also work on water supply, where we found that in our communities, most especially in marginalized communities in the refugee settlement, people were suffering from communicable diseases due to taking or drinking contaminated water from the ponds, and also stagnant water, dirty water, and they ended up suffering communicable diseases like malaria, like cholera, like dysentery, and other diseases there. So we found if we can start an initiative of supplying them the clean water supply using water tanks, using the taps, and also try to encourage them to of home safe water, boiling water, and boiling water in the community, in the homes, and also supporting those school girls also to get water through providing water tanks, spring water, and drilling boreholes in the community. Then
Great.
basically,
So
yes.
Robert, I just want to encourage, we have limited time, but I wanted to share because as you know, Build Back Green, we've committed to support and there's a lot of solutions that can be deployed. And I just wanted to mention, we've had the conversation. We did a great in-depth interview with you that people can watch. It's really concise with some video. And one of the things that impressed me is that you have all the due diligence and the paperwork with your organization, Rejoice Africa. And I will say this is how things have been working. We also had a communication with John recently from Uganda, who has an organization there. He's working with the Rotary Club, who's also doing a lot of regenerative stuff. And we had our Africa call because every week we have our Europe call, our Africa call, our Asia call, our Central and South America call, and our US call. So that's why this whole idea of Regeneration Global is we already have projects and initiatives that are starting to happen on 6 of the 7 continents. And as you can tell with the people who are on this call, we're trying to find the solutionaries and the resources and the access to funding to help to deploy some of these solutions. So thank you for being on the call all the way from Uganda. We have our meeting next week, and I just wanted to share very quickly in the last few minutes. I'm very committed with these Zoom calls not to make it another exhausting call, especially since everyone on this call is busy doing 100 other things to help save the world and save humanity from itself. So I'm going to give a quick outline here of why I wanted to have this meeting today. It felt very timely and very important. So through the last 4 years of working with Professor Tratner, who has the Green Incubator for nonprofits. He's has the Green Incubator for patents and technologies. And again, there's so many intersections of just a small group of people here who are on this call, including the 7 or 8 who aren't on the call. And I want to say that I'm being very discerning about who gets invited into this potential discourse and ecosystem, because, philosophy is great and ideas and pipe dreams and visions. But what I love is all the people here are engaged and have a very specific solution. So right now, to share this, we have Regeneration Global as an actual umbrella for a project that Alan and I have kind of been incubating and working to launch. And one of the amazing things is that through Alan's network, 100,000 people strong worldwide, the launch of some new platforms, we're looking at actually launching this in August as part of the Earthstock Eco Spiritual Summit, where we're going to have access to a world of viewers, not just preaching to the choir, but finding people actually who are doing great projects and are in need and worthy of our support. So the idea is right now, okay, I just want to show you real quick. This is not a 20-page deck or a pitch or anything right now. I just wanted to show everyone. So basically we have Regeneration Global as this concept that we've been incubating. And it seems like, especially since many of you I've just met recently, is really moving quicker and quicker from just not gestating in the womb, but actually being born. So part of that is, oh, sorry, that just cut out. I'm going to switch over to my phone here in real time. So part of that is in the wheel of full spectrum regenerative design, there's very particular aspects, again, agriculture, food and water security, remediation, technology, media, economics, governance. All of these have a very essential role in us in this, like Heidi echoed, in this regeneissance of the human condition. And as we find out with many of the traditional people right now, call it, prophecies, call it this or that, that they also know it's time for this great transition from an old paradigm to a new paradigm. So I want to go back. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I apologize about that. My computer just decided to not cooperate there. That okay, screen, here we go. Okay. That all of us have potentially particular roles. And what I want to emphasize is we're not at this point asking for time and energy, a bunch of bandwidth. We're just asking the openness to start to explore working together under an umbrella of potential. So scrolling down, can everyone see that now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have Regeneration Global, bridging the past with today for better tomorrow with innovative solutions. Again, I'm going to give this really quick. We also, as Alan knows, we have a whole administrative team right now of interns, publicists, and also support people, because what I've realized my role is, from being a permaculture designer to an event producer, media creator, I just want to build bridges. I want to help bring hoops and circles and potential together. So in doing that, I've been able to apply 90% of my time and energy to helping to build these bridges. So again, as you can see, the mission, right? The mission, uniting full spectrum solutionaries. And again, I'm not going to get too granular in this, to connect innovative individuals, organizations, consultants, and contractors and product affiliates, a resource pool, a think tank of solutionaries across the globe to promote and implement sustainable regenerative solutions, enhancing both local and global communities. And I want to say, as someone who did a bioregional watershed project and started a center and offices, that I don't want to be so down in the weeds right now. And that's what I appreciate about all of you, because you actually have a very specific vision. You're a visionary. You have a project to bring to the table. So we're not talking about being a network of networks or hundreds of people and thousands of organizations and micromanaging all of that. We're talking about specifically a team and structure. Okay. And with that, we're looking at potentially having an administrative board. And then from there, the idea of having, which we already have, the Alliance for Regenerative Communities, which is a general sandbox for people to play in about everything regenerative. But out of that, we've really had some pearls rise to the surface. So out of that, we originally started the ARC DAO, which is a decentralized group of straightforward contractors, consultants, and product reps for regenerative solutions. So we currently have been building that. And even though we know maybe it's not for everyone who wants to join that as a co-brokering group, that most of the people in that are also tied to their huge networks of people and projects and other solutionaries. So, the whole idea is bundling together with no huge time commitment or necessary buy-in at this point, to have Regeneration Global be publicly facing to promote the idea of fast tracking various solutions and skill sets and platforms separate than what you're all doing already, but collaboratively with more market penetration and more presence. So I know today, Luciana, who's in Colombia, working directly with the Kogi, who have a huge piece of land there to do a global education center. Couldn't be on the call. We also have Kevin Fretz, who we worked with. After the Maui fire, we were able to deploy 5,000 gallons of compost tea to remediate the soil. There's also other people that were deployed, and I'll talk about that in a minute, through Alan Tratner, through his transition to sustainability project, including emergency shelters, solar panels, water cleaning systems, like all of these things. So again, I want to express this is happening in real time. And then we do have a few people, and this is where we kind of look at like agreements and resource sharing, and how do we connect these nodes, people who are prolific in blockchain ecology, also people who are doing media production, who want to fast track creating regenerative and collaborative curriculums. So we also, again, we have a whole, Alan and I have built a whole administrative team. So this is where stuff gets real. And again, this is not going to be more than another 3 minutes probably. Right now, you can see we have some initiatives and projects that Alan and I have been committed to. The first one is Alan and I, since he is the co-founder of the original Earth Day a couple years ago, we did a Earth Day event. We also did one this year. We actually did a whole Earth Day weekend, which some of you were on. 3 days of events. One featured indigenous land sovereignty, and we have consultants that are working on private memberships and land patents and trusts and all these types of things. We had another one that was Build Back Green, which we're implementing as kind of regenerators or emergency green responders, which we did the Build Back Green campaign in Maui, where Alan is, also at Leaving Huang from Indigenous Bridges. And then we were invited into a project after the hurricane in Acapulco to do a Build Back Green there, again, as emergency green responders. So we're currently doing those initiatives right now. And that's kind of where people like Alenka, and not to just to pigeonhole her to one area, and the Siqueiros Foundation, who worked with people like her uncle Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera, we're doing artivism. We're getting actually large legacy level pieces of art donated as fundraising tools for these initiatives. So we're bringing artists, we're bringing the humanitarian element into this campaign, and not just counting necessarily on grants and global crowdfunding and all these things that some of you might know. And Alan Tratner has a whole history with, and has developed relationships over the last 50 some odd years to help support this whole regeneration global concept. So Build Back Green is an emergency responders, the transition to sustainability, which is Alan is doing, and is doing also a center in Maui about retrofitting industry, hotels, whatever it might be, to be more green, more sustainable, and more ecologically conscious. We also just launched Regenerative Media TV, which is a platform where I've introduced many of you. I know many people have platforms. We're not trying to be the platform of platforms or the network of networks. We're just doing our part to give people a platform for films and media. And I will say the interesting thing is that we're really focused on is not just content, is curriculums. And that's where people like Haidai and other people come in with their brilliance, Bob Jaco, who are creating curriculums that can be on there, that can be certified for people to actually get certification. And this week alone, I've had talks with the Soil Food Web and several online educational and immersive education programs that we can offer through the regenerative media platform. And like Adam was saying, and also with Earth Ledger, of course, part of that capital goes back into the ecosystem. And then we also just launched Regenerative Media Magazine this month with Nina, who started out in support to Alan and his incredible organization, Green to Gold, and basically put together like a 90-page newsletter. And she is willing to take the lead on partnering us with an online magazine and hyperlinks and media and AI and little video snips, and really making a multimedia presentation. So that's kind of where we're at right now. There's a lot happening already in Regeneration Global, and this idea was to reach out to be honest, the other foundational people with their platforms and templates and their knowledge to help propel this to the forefront of the world conversation. You know, we all know about the United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the world, but something that comes from a compassion-based, humanitarian kind of, I would say, dare to say very lightly, grassroots start, where we could leap very quickly into the global spotlight for actually being solutionaries and deploying on all level regenerative solutions. So that pretty much brings us almost to the end of the presentation. And I do want to say this just before I finish. Okay, of course, the role of educational media. And then right now we're putting together ideas around opportunities, benefits, the community. And lastly, I just want to say this. My big passion right now as part of Regeneration Global, being a bridge builder, is we're looking at 7 continents, also Maui, which is already starting to happen with Professor Tratner. And we just started working with Jerry Anderson in Puerto Rico, who just got access and stewardship of 10,000 pristine acres. My passion is not building eco villages, not mapping, this or that, is really what we call the ARC, is academies for regenerative culture that will be legacy level green academies about everything regenerative, sustainable, the technologies, the students, all of these things on 7 continents. And we already have been approached by the government in Costa Rica to do an educational center there. So I'm going to stop there, because as opposed to putting more and more and more into our discourse, because more is not always more, sometimes more is less. I just wanted to give a brief outline of what Alan and I have been cooking up, what you've all been doing in your different hoops and communities and silos and regions, and really just to start having a conversation about who wants to play in the sandbox together, and kind of putting our feet into the water as we get to know each other. So I'm going to stop babbling, and I just wanted to go back to Professor Tratner for a quick second, if he has anything he'd like to share. And just in the last couple of minutes, we can open it up for questions, thoughts, input. I would like to schedule another meeting and invite in the 7 or 8 people that couldn't make it to this call this evening, just to see that we have administrative people, we have support, we have interns. I'm not asking people to do more work or, empty your resources for this. It's just like exploring potential. So with that, I'd go back to Maui and Professor Tratner.
Aloha again. How are you again? Thank you, Michael, for this presentation. The excitement I have about meeting all of you and more that aren't even here today, contributing and being a part of Regeneration Global will be fantastic. All I want to do is mention what you asked me to do so we can round it out. There is something called Festival of the Pacific, FESPAC, coming together. It's been around for decades, and they rotate the nations to host it. And it happened to be, ironically, because we were hit by the climate-driven terrible Lahaina disaster, that Honolulu was picked for the center and the FESPAC for this year, 2024. And that will be in June, and it goes for about a week, starting like in, I think, June 6th. There are 28 nations coming to be there, and not just share cultural and all the wonderful things they've been doing for all these decades, and it rotates island to island nations, but it happened to be here. So they're taking advantage of, because the focus this year is about across the Pacific, all the island nations and states and cultures being affected by global climate change and the disasters that are heaped upon us more and more seriously. So they want to have the solutions that we're talking about in this whole process of collaborating together with technology, methodologies, indigenous wisdom. And I'm going to be talking with those 28 nations in June about a project that will cover the Pacific, but one island right now is trying to be the first global island that would be totally green, totally sustainable, self-sufficient, independent, even to the point of fighting seawater rise while the climate is getting its act together with the nations of the world. And that will be even dikes and seawalls and things like that that are from their local indigenous materials. It's all part of the plan to have local green economies grow into national and then international green economy for this planet that's totally regenerative and sustainable. So if you want to participate in that and come to Honolulu, ain't a bad place to come, Hawaii, you can get a hold of us, and I'd love to have you be involved in that. It is an opportunity to get into many, many cultures, many nations, and show them the kinds of solutions that are out there and put them in place. That's the difference between what I've done my whole life in Earth Day and beyond, is that it is not just talking and planning and thinking it all out. We've done that. Now we're trying to implement the real solutions with the wonderful word that Michael came up with, solutionaries. So we want to put that in place. And there's great opportunities to have an impact that is legacy level, like doing a whole island or doing a whole state or whatever it might be, and making them the shining examples of what can be accomplished right now, not R&D and in the pipeline, but how we can solve all these problems. And all of you know that. So,
And Alan, what island was that going to be?
Tuvalu.
Okay, great.
And it's pretty incredible. And if you want to help with us, help us do that, please get back to us from the network with Michael. And again, mahalo, the wonderful word from Hawaii, like aloha, is a wonderful embracing thank you to all of you for caring about this planet that we all survive on with millions of other species. So I'm just pleased to be a part of this and meet you all and all the others that want to join us and be part of that. So I want to say goodbye and thank you once again. Mahalo.
Great. Thank you, Professor Trainer. Any last thoughts before we conclude for this evening? And again, if anyone wants to find more about anyone here, you can go to Regen Media TV with the interviews. I'm putting up dozens of interviews every week. But I just want to make sure anyone else had any questions, thoughts, or input. And yes, of course, Haidai, I will get you this to put into your next presentation. And I want to say there's some very interesting stuff happening around accessing major funding. I don't want to get into that now, but once we identify who wants to play in the sandbox together, we can really explore the idea of bundling and fast tracking, getting some major funding in all of our sales collectively. So I will put the talking stick in the middle, whoever would like to share.
I just want to say thanks for putting this together, Michael. You know, it's great to get the group together and realize that, you know, our collective crazy will do something good. So it's really great to be part of this network. Thank you very much.
And I want to also acknowledge Adam's working on a project. I don't want to say too much because I respect different disclosures and sensitivities, but he's working on a big music festival project idea sometime in the future. So again, events partner with our weaving together with alternative platforms and volunteerism and alternative currencies and monetization of these valuable contributions that all of us are bringing together, the platforms. And then when I think about the other 6 or 7 people who aren't here, it's pretty incredible. So I'm just really happy to let everything go in my life and just be able to be a bridge right now, because being in the past, all the work I did with events, I could not even think outside of my microverse about anything else. And I just want you to know I'm here to like showcase, spotlight, and figure out how we can all be more successful. So I will invite everyone to a future, but again, I'll be quiet. Anyone else have any last thoughts before we finish?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for organizing it. I really appreciate everyone jumping on the call. Really good to meet you all. And hopefully in the very near future, things will all start to kind of coalesce. So let's keep it going. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Great. And thank you, Alenka, for waking up and being the artist you are and bringing some feminine to this group of Mustangs here. So we really appreciate that. And And I just want to remind everyone has a seat at the table. Global Council, Ideas, Solutions, and being showcased for Earthstock. I already have commitment from 5 pretty major networks, and without any hype, I think we're going to reach at least 100,000 people. And these aren't just the awake or converted or the choir per se. So we have to break the glass ceiling or the envelope of working within our ecosystems and communities and actually get people on board, because everyone's got to step up. We can't do it. We can't, us 12 can't do all the work. I mean, we need people's engagement. So. Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
I'll sign off for now. And yeah, let's look forward to the next chat.
Take care, everybody.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you all.